No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mindell. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this evening from the rolling hills of Kentucky to the flatlands of the prairie provinces, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show alongside Dave Manouk. I'm your host, Drew Mindell, joining you live from beautiful Frankfort, Kentucky, to talk about the Winnipeg Jets 5-2 victory over the Detroit Red Wings. Good night, Tim. I'm not saying good night to my father-in-law. If you'll excuse me, a little interlude at
I thought Tim was in the chat for a second there, Drew. I was like, who's Tim in the chat?
No.
Producer Tim?
No, not producer Tim. Tim, my father-in-law. He's going to bed, so I'll try and keep my voice down so as to not wake up the entirety of the household as everyone else is asleep, because we had a very early morning of travel to make it down here in time for the post-game show. But I do that for you, Dave M. That's the sacrifices I make. Much like Dylan Sandberg blocking shots left, right, and center. Those are the sacrifices I make. Another victory for the Winnipeg Jets, 7-1-1 in their last 9. They did what they're supposed to do against a weak opponent, a Detroit Red Wings team that is struggling. They're losers of 7 of their last 8, and the Winnipeg Jets with a bit of a slow start in the first period, which has sort of been the MO of this team as of late. But after that point in time, this was just a dominant performance by the Winnipeg Jets over the Detroit Red Wings.
Yeah, there's no question about it, Drew. And obviously Detroit's had some injury problems, which is the reason why former Jets goaltender Michael Hutchinson is the backup to Morwena, Manitoba's James Reimer. Folks in Winnipeg were a little concerned. They thought there was going to be another situation where James Reimer was shutting things down. That wasn't the case tonight. He made some nice saves, but that wasn't going to be the case tonight. The Jets were not going to be denied. It's 3 low event first periods in a row. The most exciting thing in the first 10 minutes, I don't know if they showed this on TV, was a guy chugging a beer all in one take during, I think it was a commercial break. But
so that's where Ezzy is.
Yes, that explains where Mr. Ginsburg is. But no, that was to a certain point in the first period. I was like, well, this is the most exciting part of the game so far. But then things, of course, started to get a little bit more exciting for folks in the building and outside of it. And look, I mean, this Jets team, I'm not going to call them a wagon, but they sure seem to be a little bit of a wagon right now. And they're really good against the East, right? 8-0-3 against Eastern Conference teams. They'll have a tough test in Boston. I watched that Boston-Minnesota game last night in Boston. So we'll see what the Bruins have in store for the Jets on Friday night. But right now, the Jets are looking like a very good team against Eastern Conference teams. They're looking like a very good team against Western Conference teams. So they've leapfrogged back into first place in the Central Division, 1 point up on both Dallas and Colorado, who are idle this evening. But what can you say, Drew? It was an impressive game from the Jets. I mean, you didn't really know how they were going to go. And again, obviously you have Kopp and Sherratt, but I mean, it's kind of old hat that those guys are back now. It's not like a new thing really. So you were really just wondering how this game was going to go and how would the Jets kind of respond to a disappointing, game result against the Montreal Canadiens. They fought back in that one and they, were able to at least earn a point, but you knew they weren't satisfied with that result. And you knew that they wanted to have a better effort in tonight's game. And the first wasn't fantastic, but I thought overall, when you look at the totality of that hockey game, the Jets eventually got going. So again, the only, I would say, cause for concern is that 3 periods in a row where I thought the first were a little bit slow for Winnipeg. But overall, I mean, you look at the way the team handled Detroit, and they had a really good effort for 60 minutes.
But, while they might have been slow starts, and I don't disagree with you that, this was a slow start to the game for both the Jets and the Red Wings, and it was a slow start on a Monday against the Canadiens for both teams. At least the Jets at the same time, while they're starting slow, and forget about the other 2 games where they were down 2-0 first, the game against Anaheim and the game against Los Angeles. Those are a few games ago now. But as much as they are starting slow, at the same time, though, they're not giving anything up to the opponent. This wasn't like one of the earlier games where where they started slow and Laurent Brossoit had to keep the Jets in the game, or Connor Hellebuyck had to keep the Jets in the game. It was just it was a feeling out process for both teams. And as much as the Jets really weren't generating much, at the same time, they weren't giving up anything to Detroit, which is probably not something you could say necessarily in years past, or even earlier this year, where if they were starting slow, they were outshot 10-1, they were outshot 11-1. It would have been worse if it wasn't for their goaltending. Right. Tonight's game, there was just not a lot of there were not a lot of events going on in the first period until the Jets finally broke it open, which we'll get into, of course, in a little while with the during the Betway game recap. But this was one team that's a better team imposing their will on a weaker team, and I mean, just the number of defensive breakdowns that Detroit suffered. I mean, it just really, they just really aren't that good of a hockey team. They seem like they should be a better team on paper than they are in actuality. And I know that they're really going through the struggles right now, but kudos to the Jets for taking advantage of that. And saying, okay, you're a weaker opponent. We're going to get an early goal, or we're going to get the first goal, and then we're going to get additional goals. And really, we're going to snuff the life out of this game before it gets, Detroit has a faint hope of being in this one. And the Jets deserve kudos for that. I mean, yes, Detroit battled back, and it got maybe a little bit hairy there in the third period, but I mean, not really. Not really. At no point in time did you really think the Jets were in trouble at any point in time, or were in danger of having it come back. Because look, what is this now? This is now 21 straight games.
21.
Having not allowed more than 3 goals. I mean, the NHL record is 22, I think I saw. The Tampa Bay Lightning did that a number of years ago. So the Jets would have an opportunity to tie that record on Friday night against the Boston Bruins. And you know that that's going to be a psyched up crowd and a psyched up game against the Bruins on Friday, because you know how good the Bruins are, of course. But this Jets team is just so committed to their details, and have been for the vast majority of this season, that you don't expect anything different at this point in time. There was a couple minutes in that third period where I thought they got a little bit sloppy, and it probably led to the 4-2 goal. That goal that came in the third period. The Jets got maybe a little casual and a little bit, they got on the wrong side of the puck, and maybe they were trying to be a little bit too fancy. But that is so far the exception rather than the rule for this team. It's amazing to see, Dave.
Well, for sure. And again, the Red Wings do have some good players, although I will admit it probably took me till about the second period to notice Patrick Kane in this hockey game. Yeah. I knew he was in it, but I didn't really see him a lot in that first. And, I just had the comment up. You just took it down, but I mean, it's fine, because I thought the fourth line was excellent again tonight. And obviously they contributed on the score sheet, but it really was, again, another instance where this fourth line has looked really good and they contribute. And, I wrote about it, I don't know if it was today or last game, but I just said I think they deserve, maybe it was today, and I just said they deserve more minutes based on how they're playing. And I really think, there should be an impetus for Rick Bowness to use them frequently and not try and shelter the minutes or overload the minutes, because to me that fourth line is contributing. They're not just a team that's they're not treading water when they're out there. They're leaning on their opponents, and they're creating some opportunities, and they're scoring some goals, which of course is another benefit and something that you're going to want from your team. So you're right, Drew. I mean, look, you're always going to have lulls in a hockey game, and especially when, look, it's 1-1, and the Jets build up 3 more in the second, and you're thinking, okay, how are they going to put their step on Detroit's throat, or are they going to allow the Wings to get a little bit of life? And you expected the Wings to have some push, because they want to get off to a good start. I think this is the start of their road trip, so that they have that expectation. And then Kopp obviously wants to come back to Winnipeg and try and show that he's you're gonna rue trading trading me away. And the only person who's ruining that right now is Rob Blake in LA, because Gabriel Velarde, the things he's doing, and obviously it's only 13 games now that he's been back, but 13 points in 13 games, 6 goals, 7 assists. He's got 2 more points than Pierre-Luc Dubois on the season, Drew. So the trade 1-for-1, as I joked on Twitter, was going to be maybe sufficient. But I mean, maybe it's not a joke right now. I mean, Gabriel Velarde look so good on that first line with Mark Scheifele and Nikolai Ehlers, and that trio, we talked about it, as they build up that chemistry and that muscle memory of playing together and learning each other's habits.
Yeah.
They look really good. They look really strong, and they look like a really good, top first line in this NHL. So
if you can find me a better first line in the last, since they've been put together in the entirety of the NHL, I mean, just the performance and the numbers they're generating are through the roof. I mean, even, look, this wasn't, I thought Mark Scheifele's best game, but he still manages to contribute a goal, and he's still doing the right things. None of them, nobody on the Jets team is cheating for offense. And so, which means they're playing this incredibly stellar brand of defense, but at the same time, they're still generating, more than enough offense, which was what really people were worried about when Kyle Connor went down with the injury. Was there going to be enough offense? And clearly the answer is yes, as of late.
Yeah, and again, what it comes down to is that this is a team that I don't think they believed the message. They really didn't. They just didn't have enough faith. And I mean, I think I'm not going to go back to the Paul Maurice days, but I think that when Rick Bowness took over last year, and there was still some clash of ideologies, let's say, I don't know that this team bought into that philosophy of you can create offense if you play things properly defensively. I never really got that sense. This year, and again, you isolated it when you said 21 straight games with 3 or less goals. Now, of course, Laurent Brossoit and Connor Hellebuck have a big say in that, but the Jets also, with their play, with the cutting down of the high danger chances, I'd be curious to know if we went back and looked, because a lot of folks are saying, well, if you look at this team last year, they had just as many points at this point last year as they did last year. And that's not an untrue statement, but I would argue that the major difference between this year and last year was that Connor Hellebuck was out of his mind. And again, the Jets probably outscored their problems, and they didn't defensively play this structured a game. And again, their power play and penalty kill were both better numbers last year, interestingly enough, than they are this year, but their 5-on-5 would not be as good. And so to me, these are two different teams, even though the results look remarkably similar. And so folks are expecting the wheels to fall off. Right. But this team seems to be, Drew, committed to playing this style of game. And as a result, it's hard, you can't argue with it, right? Like what do we talk about oftentimes? It's there's if you have success, it's hard to, if I go up to bat or score a goal, I guess I should keep it to the hockey, but if you score a goal or 5 goals or 6 goals, playing a defensively sound game, I mean, it's hard to be like, well, why would we do that when, we are getting those results? Obviously now they're getting the results. Guys are still having success. And the team is winning. So I think that would be the major difference between last year and this year.
Well, like I highlighted Patrick's comment that's on the screen right now. He's saying underlying stats say the Jets better this year compared to last. And there's no comparison. This year, there's no reason to think that there's a sizable regression coming. It's not like the Jets PDO, which, can oftentimes inflate a team's record and will eventually equal out. There's no reason to think that's what's coming for the Winnipeg Jets. This Jets team just seems to be a very good quality hockey team and are doing all the right things necessary to win games on a consistent basis in this league. And I think Nate Schmidt, I wanted to just mention Nate Schmidt, because this is what now either the 3rd or the 4th straight game that he's been in the lineup. And I just don't see any reason why that's going to change anytime soon. I think he has sort of found his stride a little bit again, so that him and Dylan Samberg I thought was a beast tonight. Yeah. He was a beast on both really ends of the ice. I mean, there was a number of shot blocks, but at the same time, he was aggressive and jumping up into the play, which isn't something you typically think of when you hear when you think of Dylan Samberg. And we'll of course talk about the tremendous pass he made to set up Axel Jonsson-Fjällby's goal when we get into the Betway game recap coming up here in a couple of minutes. But everything about the Jets right now, it just is very solid. You wouldn't say that there's an area of concern. Are there areas that can be improved upon? Yes. Can you always get better? Yes, but there's nothing that is really concerning. Sure, the special teams, but and that is an issue, and we know that they worked on that during the practice yesterday. They weren't able to. Sorry, was it this morning? This morning during
yesterday ended up being an optional because they had guys who were banged up.
Because Morrissey's face had a hole in it.
Most specifically, Josh Morrissey.
Right.
Josh Morrissey, by the way, was very funny today. I have to give him credit because when we were sitting there, and I actually specifically think he was directing it my way because I happened to be on his, quote, not so good side. So the IC video happened to be getting right at that, him at that angle. But he did say, he's like, I'll try and, give you guys my good side. Joked about Blue Steel, the old Zoolander reference.
Yeah.
And then talked about, he said, well, maybe you guys, but again, directed it at us, the Illegal Curve Gam, could use the footage of TSN Sportsnet, who were on the other side of him. But, credit him because, that looked nasty when you looked at it up close.
Sure.
And you could see how much pain he was in. Because when our amazing photographer, Colby Spence, took the photos in the game, it's not swollen at that point. So it's bloody, but it's not swollen. Then you see him actually today. And obviously I'm about a foot away from him when we're talking, and he is just like, his cheek is just swollen. So good on him for playing. He, someone asked him if it was going to impact him. He said, no, of course not. It's going to, not remotely. And you could see it didn't impact him. He had another good game.
Yeah, he had another great game. Look, the Jets were top to bottom. They were very good. And they were a 4-line effort tonight. And they were getting secondary scoring from some unlikely sources in tonight's game. So everything about tonight's performance for the Winnipeg Jets was just very neat, very tidy, very effective, and very emblematic, I would say, of what a good hockey team is supposed to look like. And that's what the Winnipeg Jets look like as of late. They're back to top spot in the Central Division. And, your game, what was this game? 31, if I'm not mistaken?
31.
Yeah, there you go. Game 31. You're in top spot in the Central Division. You're doing something right. And, of course, they'll have another big test coming up on Friday against the Boston Bruins. But we'll get to that a little bit later on during this evening's post-game show. We do say good evening to everyone. If you're just joining us, Dave Manouk is on the right-hand side of your screen. I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Dave's in Winnipeg. I'm with my family, my wife's family in Kentucky, but we come to you no matter where we are. We bring you the latest on the Winnipeg Jets with the Illegal Curve post-game show, and we'll do it again, of course, on Friday night after the Jets and the Bruins, which will be back at the regular start time of around 9:45 or so, with these last two games having been early starts. If you haven't already done so, smash the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel. You know what you got to do. And I see there's people talking about the special guest that's going to join us. That'll come a little bit later. That'll come after the Betway game recap. But don't go anywhere, of course, folks. The special guest will make an appearance, we promise, on tonight's edition of the Illegal Curve post-game show. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, well, stay tuned.
Patrick knows what you're talking about.
Patrick knows what I'm talking about is right. Exactly right.
Spency knew what you were talking about.
I know Spency. There's sometimes there's people who joined us last year at this time of the year, and then sometimes there's some new people who may not have been here last year when the triumphant clock made its debut on the show. So stay tuned.
Wasn't it like multiple games though, and a Saturday show, Drew? I think the clock was like, by the end it was famous, but I think it took a bit of time before the clock really started to. Well, I guess we'll know in about 26 minutes.
Yeah, there you go. The clock, it's in warm up. It's getting ready to sing to us is what it's getting ready to do. Hopefully these microphones, because they're new microphones. I'm not sure if these microphones will be able to pick up the chimes of the clock, but maybe you'll have to rearrange and I can bring my microphone and make sure we get it on. But nonetheless, in any event, let's get into the game recap. There's a lot of goals to talk about. It is the Betway game recap brought to you by our friends at Betway.
The Betway game recap.
Betway, of course, is the most trusted voice in sports betting, both in Canada and all around the world. They're the title sponsor of the Illegal Curve post-game show. So if you're in the mood to make a wager, perhaps you're going to be wagering on the Winnipeg Jets. Perhaps you're wagering on college bowl games. Perhaps you're wagering on tomorrow morning's University of Kentucky versus Lipscomb women's basketball game that I'm going to. Whatever you're in the mood for, I think our friends at Betway can help you out with that. Let's get started started on the Betway game recap, Dave. The Jets opened the scoring. I got to use my phone here at the same time. I don't have my second screen being here on the road, so I'm going to have to try and multitask. The Jets opened the scoring at the 15:38 mark of the first period. It's Neil Pionk. I was waiting for it to be Morgan Barron, but apparently it's still Neil Pionk. His second of the season, assist to Axel Jonsson-Fialbi and David Gustafsson. It's a zone entry, the clean zone entry by Axel Jonsson-Fialbi, and then he takes a nice hard high shot on James Reimer, and Reimer has trouble corralling the rebound. In fact, Jonsson-Fialbi goes and gets the rebound himself, sends it back to the point to Neil Pionk, and Morgan Barron is in front, causing some chaos. I could have sworn he tipped it. I think you probably thought the same thing.
I did.
But so far, it's Neil Pionk's goal. That hasn't changed. It deflected in off of, well, clearly not Barron, off the Red Wings defender, and sort of just changed direction. A tough one for James Reimer on this one, but the Jets will take it. A bit of a greasy goal to make it 1-0.
Well, I mean, the key is that the Jets, first of all, a great puck retrieval by Axel Jonsson-Fialbi, as you touched on, Drew. I mean, that's what you need him to do, right? Is use his speed, because that is his biggest asset. We sometimes joke he doesn't necessarily need his hockey stick, although I was gonna say we'll have to bite our lip on that one. But like, he makes a nice play, and then Morgan Barron goes to the front of the net, and it's interesting because it really doesn't take away the eyes of Reimer. I don't know that he was ready for the shot, but you can just see on the replay that when it hits, it just dies, right? Like, Reimer's expecting a high shot, all of a sudden the puck just dives down and it's in the bottom of his net, and it gets the crowd going. And like I had said, there was a little bit ho-hum at that point. The folks were waiting for something exciting to happen. To that point, the only thing that really had been going was the guy chugging his beer. So the crowd gets going. And it was funny because I joked. I said, folks don't know whether it's going to be, hold on, let me just make sure I don't want to butcher their goal songs. But let me just pull it up. It was either going to be Renegade by Styx for Neil Pionk or Home for Rest by Spirit of the West for Morgan Barron. But I think they ended up playing both, to be honest with you, Drew. So they weren't certain in the
both good songs.
Yeah, and it was just to me it was just funny because you just weren't, like, Barron kind of looked at him and then he's like, you could see he wasn't certain, and then he went and Pionk took because we all thought it was Barron based on the reaction, and the way the puck died, right? Because Pionk shot it high and the puck died. So then you realize it may have hit the defender. Regardless, it's the reason why you want to sometimes just throw pucks at the net. And that was a good play by the Jets. And, for the most part, Detroit early had kind of a little bit of a very minor shot edge. And then the Jets took over things in the latter stage of that first period. And that's where you could start to feel them building a little bit more momentum, because again, like I said, it felt very low event to that point. And then all of a sudden the Jets crowd get into it with that opening goal by Neil Pionk, his second of the season.
Yeah, exactly right. So it's 1-0 for the Winnipeg Jets after 20 minutes. Shots on goal in that first period, 12-9.
By the way, Drew, assist to David Gustafsson, who was playing in his 100th NHL game. Where does the time go? Perfetti. So was Cole Perfetti. I just was going to say. So you had the 2018 second rounder, which was Gustafsson. Yeah, and then you had Cole Perfetti, the 2020 first rounder. So those guys playing, obviously 100 games each. It's pretty significant milestones. And again, attesting to the draft and develop model that Winnipeg continues to employ.
The most amazing part of that stat, Dave, is that neither you or I have aged one day in their 100 games that they've played. So I don't know how we're doing it. We truly are the heroes in this situation, not Perfetti and Gustafsson having played their 100 NHL games. Congratulations to them both. So 1-0 for the Jets after 20 minutes. The Red Wings tie it up, though. They tie it up at the 1:44 mark. So early in the second period, it's Olli Maatta, assist to Patrick Kane and Andrew Kopp. So good for Kopp to get on the scoreboard, playing against his old Winnipeg mates. Detroit wins a D-zone draw here, and then it's a clean zone entry. Andrew Kopp to Patrick Kane. Olli Maatta is the trailer, and Kane finds Olli Maatta. We know how good of a passer Patrick Kane is and has been throughout the entirety of his career. And Adam Lowry is sort of screening Laurent Brossoit on this one. It looks like it maybe deflects a bit off of Lowry, and it evades Laurent Brossoit to the Red Wings tie it up at 1 early in the second period.
Yeah, and look, the Jets are caught puck watching a little bit because nobody is paying attention to Olli Maatta, who's just coming cruising into the Jets zone, and he's basically allowed. I mean, you can see it's clearly a set play by the Red Wings, right? They get a quick attack with the 3-on-2, and then the Jets are busy trying to defend against those guys, trying to catch up. And then I think Morgan Barron was pretty deep in the Jet zone. And then, yeah, you can definitely see that Adam Lowry is screening Laurent Brossoit. Originally, when on first blush, Drew, you kind of watched it, live. You're thinking, oh, he beat Brossoit pretty clean. But then you realize like Lowry actually is in front. So a bit unfortunate. But yeah, I mean, look, you've got Lowry does what he's supposed to do, and then he just doesn't get out of the way, unfortunately for him. So he's either got to block that shot or get out of the way so Brossoit can see it clean. He doesn't, and then Mata goes and ties the game 1-1.
That's right. So 1-1 at that point in time, but the Jets don't hang their heads for too long. They get the lead right back just under 6 minutes later. In fact, 5 minutes and 57 seconds later, to be exact. It's Nikolai Ehlers, his 11th assist to Gabe Vilardi and Dylan DeMello. You knew you weren't going to keep the Jets top line off the score sheet for the entirety of the night the way they've been playing as of late, and they certainly didn't. Dylan DeMello gets the shot through, and then Gabe Vilardi goes and gets the rebound behind the net, and he's behind the net, and doesn't seem like it's going to be a scary situation for Detroit, but inexplicably Jake Wallman just leaves Nikolai Ehlers. He leaves Nikolai Ehlers all alone at the side of the net to go chase after Gabe Vilardi. Nobody comes back to support Jake Wallman in what in my mind was a very poor decision, and he did not have a good game today. Wallman did not, and him and Moritz Seider were paired, and they were both on the ice, I think, for the 3 straight goals. I believe they were on the ice for the 2-1 goal, the 3-1 goal, and the 4-1 goal. I'm going to double check that though in a second. But Wallman leaves the front of the net. Ehlers is just all alone, so Vilardi just slides the puck to him, and then Ehlers goes off the far post and in. It just sort of, it really didn't seem like it was going to be any sort of dangerous play, except for just a boneheaded decision in my mind by Jake Wallman, and the Jets capitalize on it.
Yeah, and Red Wings captain Dylan Larkin is the player who's pursuing Vilardi behind the net. So he's got Vilardi and he's with him. And even if he doesn't stay with him, I mean, I understand Wallman is hoping that his defensive partner is going to back him up, but he also is leaving Nikolai Ehlers wide open in front of the net. And at that point, he's got to realize like there's nobody in close proximity. So I don't know where he thought that support was coming from, right? Because you also have to pay attention to Mark Scheifele being on the ice. So Ehlers is left by himself beside the net, and really heads up play by Gabriel Vilardi because, I mean, again, a lot of the guys are thinking like Larkin is hoping like he's a step behind him, but I mean, Ehlers is just in put himself into soft ice, really. And well, it wasn't 2 seconds before Wallman decided to abdicate his responsibilities of tying him up in front of the net. But you're right. You just can't leave a guy who's that dangerous, in Ehlers, to have that sort of chance. I mean, he's not missing that. He had to reach for it a little bit, but I mean, at that point, and Ehlers, I didn't think had a great game against Montreal, but that gives him 4 goals and 4 goals, 4 assists in his last 4 games. So I mean, like, again, he's contributing and he's getting on the score sheet, and that was his 11th goal in 31 games, and last year he had 12 in 51, I think, or something like that. So he's well below what his numbers were last year in terms of his goal scoring, and that's obviously significant. Let me just see. He had 12 and 45 last year, and he's up to 11 and 31 this year. So look, Ehlers, I thought, is a player who's
be a math genius to know that's better.
It is better, correct? Yeah. And look, I just think it's a testament to that first line. I mean, Gabriel Vilardi has become, and look, the biggest thing for Mark Scheifele, even though as much as he wanted to play with Kyle Connor and loved playing with Kyle Connor, what have we always talked about that line needing? A right shot. And what is it that they've wanted? They literally asked for Mason Appleton, who doesn't have necessarily that skill set on a long-term basis to be on the top line. They wanted Appleton because he provided that right shot. Well, they've got a guy who's a right shot who has, again, and you hear Gabriel Vilardi talk about it. I mean, he was talking about it with us, was it 2 days ago, where he was talking about his timing and his hands and his feet and getting everything back in. Because remember, he's not that far removed from his injury. Well, he sure looks like it because he's contributing like phenomenally. And that top line just continues. Again, we've talked about it. I'm not trying to gush here, but it's remarkable how good that top line has been for Winnipeg. I mean, they're whether you just want to look at their regular stats or the fancy stats, they're contributing all over the place. And so it's one of those things that the Jets have needed because, again, it's both ends of the ice. Scheifele's got a bigger commitment to both ends of the ice. Gabriel Velarde, we know, is more responsible. Ehlers' speed alone allows him to do some things if he needs to. So it's a big play. And again, it gets the Jets that momentum back, and it got the crowd back into the game.
Yeah, exactly right. And, that's what the Jets, you want to see that response after Detroit tied it up early in the second period. And the Jets do respond. And then they double down on that response by making it 3-1. And this comes 3 minutes and 9 seconds after. So you got 2 goals in the span of 3 minutes and 9 seconds. And the Jets take a 3-1, real stranglehold on the game, or a commanding 3-1 lead. Maybe the fourth goal became the stranglehold. But this is probably this is a highlight reel goal from 2 guys you don't expect to see on the offensive side of the ledger very often. It's Axel Jonsson-Fjällby. It's his first of the year, and the assist goes to Dylan Samberg. And before we break it all down, we're going to award this one our Seagram's shot of the game.
The Seagram's shot of the game.
And I apologize, I don't have any thing to shoot back right now. I'll have to get a drink for Friday's post-game show. Like I said, I've been up since 4:30 in the morning, so I don't know that alcohol right now would be the best solution for me. I might be more inane rambling if I added some alcohol to my diet right now, so I'm going to avoid that. But I'm going to say thank you to our friends at Seagram's for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show. And if you're looking for a drink to consume responsibly, we do highly recommend any of the great products that our friends at Seagram's put together. And yes, you all knew it was coming. It is the shot of the game. Axel Jonsson-Fjällby gets it with a beautiful breakaway shot going glove side on James Reimer. And the shot is great. The speed demonstrated by Jonsson-Fjällby is great. And the pass by Dylan Samberg, a bank pass from one side of the ice to the other to hit Fjällby in stride behind Shane Gostisbehere this is just exquisite high-level play on the offensive side of things from 2 guys you don't necessarily expect to have attached to their names, high-level offensive plays, Dave.
Well, I mean, look, there's a reason why the Jets were desperate to sign Dylan Samberg, out of college. He's a phenomenal defender. He's a great young talent, and you knew, and it seems like he's ready. We thought he was going to be ready to handle more responsibility. He continues to show that he can handle more responsibility. He matched his points total from last season in tonight's game. He had 2 goals, I believe, 2 goals and 6 assists last year. Now he's 0 for 8. So he's got the reverse Cy Young, but he did this last year. He did it in 63 games. This year he's done it in 31. And one of the things that Rick Bowness wanted was more offense. And that, I thought Dylan Samberg was probably the best defenseman for me in tonight's game. I thought he did absolutely everything. I mean, he blocked the shots. What was the big thing Rick Bowness wanted to see? That commitment to shot blocking. He blocked shots, a big one in that third period. Do
you know how good Dylan Samberg was?
Sure.
Dylan Samberg was so good that he made Roscoe just leave a comment that didn't have anything to do with his old lady or anything along those lines. And we know that Roscoe is usually, at least it was in all caps. As long as it was in all caps, it's fine. But I mean, it made Roscoe leave what could be described as an articulate and well thought out comment, and that doesn't happen all the time. Love you, Roscoe.
The humanity, Drew. The humanity. But to steal Roscoe's line, but
right.
I just thought that Samberg was fantastic in today's game. I mean, he's been fantastic all season, but I just thought that's the element of the game that you wanted to see from him, that you want to see that development. Because defensively, we know already he's committed to that area. But is the growth in his offense gonna be there? And look, he's not replacing Josh Morrissey anytime soon, but it's a really important step for a relatively young player. And I thought Dylan was good too, Darcy, but I just thought that Samberg, to me, was the one who stood out. And that pass was an excellent example of a guy who made a really great stretch pass, saw Axel Jonsson-Fjällby, recognized. And again, you got to give Axel Jonsson-Fjällby credit because it wasn't the easiest pass to receive, and he had to do it in stride. So, credit to him. And I think that, Drew, and it's one thing that we should probably talk about, because today on the ice, I was at morning skate, of course, and one of the things that was there, two of the people that were on the ice for morning skate, and we can talk about it a little bit more after, the post game recap, is the fact that you had both Rasmus Kupari and Ville Heinola in yellow non-contact.
Mm-hmm.
And you do wonder how much of a factor that is for this fourth line, which again is playing so well. And yet you don't, with Rasmus Kupari coming back, you don't know. And look, Rick Bowness isn't saying it's going to be anytime soon. He said earliest it'll be is after Christmas. Although 2 daes ago, I felt like he was saying it was a ways away. So you never know what that exactly means. But you do wonder if that factors in. And Axel Jonsson, VLB knows, look, it's great to be a good penalty killer, which he is, but he's got to be able to contribute in other ways. And that's a beautiful goal. And we didn't even know what his goal song was. We weren't certain. I'm still not 100% certain I know what his goal song is. Something I think it was, someone asked me. I'm not, hold on. I had someone ask. I'll tell you right now what it was. It was, Glenn always said, "Good boys, bongo cha cha cha."
You're not familiar?
No, I'm familiar. I was expecting something Swedish, to be honest with you.
Yeah, fair enough. Anyways,
I was going to go, I would figure, maybe a little Avicii, something along those lines. Maybe if you want to go ABBA, if you want to go old school, but he went with "Good boys, bongo cha cha cha."
There you go. Dave does the cha-cha-cha in his spare time as well. We say good evening to everyone again. It is the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mindell, Dave Manouk talking about the Jets' 5-2 victory over the Detroit Red Wings. We're in the midst of the Betway game recap. It's what we do after each and every Winnipeg Jets game. The Jets make it 4-1. So it's 3-1. Then, if 3-1 was commanding, 4-1 was a stranglehold. That is also in the second period, a 3-goal second period for the Winnipeg Jets. Gabe Vilardi, of course. How much more can we say about Gabe Vilardi? His 6th of the year, assist to Cole Perfetti and Josh Morrissey. And this is just the Winnipeg Jets cycling the Detroit Red Wings to death. And it's in the midst of a line change. Perfetti is coming off of the bench. Vilardi takes the original shot, and then the rebound goes to Dylan DeMello. He gets it over to Josh Morrissey. Morrissey to it goes the other way around, I believe.
Morrissey to Perfetti.
Yeah, DeMello to Morrissey to Perfetti. And again, Moritz Seider and Jake Wallman are just covering air, and they leave Gabe Vilardi all alone. And it's a great pass by Cole Perfetti. And Vilardi's got the easiest goal he's had all season. He's just standing there. Nobody's near him. I mean, Seider and Wallman are just in no man's land, which is something you could say a lot about the Winnipeg Jets. It was reminiscent of some Jets defensive breakdowns in years past, but in this case, it is to the Jets' advantage, and Vilardi tucks it in, and it's 4-1 for the Winnipeg Jets before the second period is out, Dave.
Well, the Jets didn't get any power plays in this game, but that sure looked like a power play. It looked like a 5-on-4 opportunity because they were controlling the puck, and I'm fairly certain everybody who could have touched that puck, because I think Scheifele is the one who actually got it started. And, he did the twist. Actually, it wasn't even Scheifele. I think it was. And then they did a line change.
Vilardi had the original shot, I believe.
Right. So I'm just saying that there were a number of players who touched that puck who, it cycled it, like you touched on, Drew. And that to me is key, is that they were fast again. And that's one of the things we talked about, making quick decisions. And the Jets did this on this shift. And sure enough, what happens when you make quick decisions and fast decisions and the correct ones? You make a beautiful pass. I mean, first of all, we talked about Cole Perfetti. He scores the goal of the last game, finding soft ice. Today, that's an all-world pass. The guy's got, great vision. And Drew, the defense is terrible because they're just standing around. Like, they're literally just allowing that play to kind of transpire. But the Jets, I think it was 7B had said earlier, it was like a cat playing with a mouse. And in this shift, I mean, how many Red Wings are just going for
don't know what to do. They're just discombobulated. They don't know what their coverages are supposed to be. They don't know who they're supposed to try and take, so they take nobody instead. It was just it was ugly defending and excellent execution offensively by the Jets, but the Red Wings certainly made it easy on them. So that is not that the Jets need to apologize for that, but Detroit was playing poor defense, and the Jets took advantage of it, like they should, like a good team like the Jets should in that case.
Well, and this is literally almost a carbon copy of the goal Cole Perfetti scored, though, right? I mean, Gabe Vilardi is engaged with a guy in front of the net with Wallman, and then all of a sudden backs off, finds that soft ice, doesn't get challenged, and Perfetti sees him. And again, he's got unbelievable hockey IQ. And he spots him, and it's an easy tap in for Velarde. And you're right, Drew, of all the goals he scored this season, that was probably his easiest. And that gives him 6 goals on the season. So, the superlatives were flying, and the Jets are up 4-1 after 40 minutes. So, I mean, it's the crowd was into it. Let's just put it that way. Everybody was excited. The Macarena was playing at Canada Life. And that, of course, gets everyone out of their seats and up and
Are
dancing.
people doing the dance in the crowd? I mean, I haven't been in the building, but I mean, if I'm doing the dance here, then why I would hope they're doing the Macarena in the stands when he scores.
I mean, I can't attest to the fact that everybody is doing the Macarena, Drew, but I would say that a lot of folks were doing the Macarena. So
good. I'm concerned about that.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously you're concerned about that, but I mean, it's just funny because like at that point, he's up to 11 points in 13 games. Obviously we're going to get, add more, but I mean, it's remarkable what he's been able to do in a short period of time. And again, obviously it's worth mentioning that he's playing on the top line with the Jets, and that's a difference than Pierre-Luc Dubois playing on the third line in LA.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, at the end of the day, it's a results-based business, Drew. And if we just look at the stats,
the results are
right
good.
Now, the results are good.
The results are very good. There you go. Craig Penner is saying people in section 309 were doing the Macarena. So that's important breaking news here on the post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk with you on the Illegal Curve post-game show. It's getting close to the time, folks. So I'm keeping a close eye on the clock.
Yeah, 3 more minutes for God's sakes.
Well, but usually the clock's a little bit ahead, so I think it's closer to around the 59 mark. It's not exact timing. So I'm gonna have to maybe as we get into the 4-2 goal here, Detroit cuts into the Jets' lead to make it 4-2. This comes at the 8:41 mark of the third period after the Jets run into a little bit of they take their first penalty, the Nino Niederreiter slash, which was about the softest slashing penalty I've ever seen in my life. The Jets didn't get any power play opportunities, but the Jets kill off the Niederreiter one. But I thought they were getting a little loose at this point in the game, and Detroit ends up taking advantage. It's an odd man rush, and Patrick Kane ends up getting his second of the season, assist to Dylan Larkin and Moritz Seider as the Jets, like I said, get a little loose and maybe a little too fancy, and there were a couple Ehlers turnovers right around this time of the game that the Jets probably aren't going to like, and it becomes a 4-2 game at that point in time for the Detroit Red Wings. For the Winnipeg Jets, Dave. This coming at the 8:40 mark of the third period.
Sorry, Drew. I was trying to let people know that our special guest is going to be chiming in. Oh, Drew, what's going on right now?
I'm getting up to move towards the special guest because I can't.
Shouldn't you bring the computer with you?
I'm bringing the computer with me. Don't worry. I'm moving at the same time.
Not necessarily the most flattering angle there, Drew.
Dave, there are very few flattering angles of me in general, but I'm just keeping it up here so we can see it. There it is, folks. In
the
all
clock
its glory.
Is back. We can hear it. We can hear it. You don't need to do that.
There you go, folks. Give it a chant. The clock is singing.
Man, 400 people are in the chat just so they could be part of that.
There it is, folks. It's all its glory. The clock has chimed. It is 11 o'clock Eastern time. There's going to be a lot of very confused people who are wondering why there's dead air playing on their podcast edition of this show. But there is the clock. It is still hanging out and doing its thing. And I don't know why this clock has become so popular. But then again,
it became popular last year. I don't remember why. I think it was because... I don't remember. I think it was just because it would randomly play, and maybe because our mics are less less directional. The clock was picked up a little bit more significantly, and people were into it. The clock was a rocking, and so was the show. Reg Dunlop is saying now he can sleep because he heard the clock. Roscoe surprisingly saying, "What a situation!"
Yeah, never would have expected that comment from Roscoe or anything along those lines. But there you go. The clock is back. The clock is around. The clock will be here on Friday for the Illegal Curve post game show as well. So I hope everyone enjoyed that. The first edition of the clock on this edition of the program. This absolute insanity is really what it is, but that's okay. My in-laws, when I tell them tomorrow, are going to be like, "What? You showed everyone our clock? I don't understand. What are the words you are saying here?" But moving
You're
back,
uttering words. We're not sure we understand the words.
Yeah, exactly. Moving back to the Red Wings goal here, Dave. I just thought the Jets got a little loose, which I mean, I sort of understand to some extent. It's 4-1. You're feeling good about yourself.
Yeah.
look, I thought the loose play for the Jets started with that Niederreiter penalty call, which was a weak call at best, especially because Ehlers getting cross-checked in the head by Ben Sherratt, a couple minutes before that, goes uncalled, and instead this is the first call that the officials make during this game.
Yeah, no, I mean, I thought we thought it was going to be a clean sheet actually, and it's ironic, of course, because of all the talk about the power play and the Jets wanting to work on their special teams. For them to get no power plays is rather humorous. But again, like I said, there's a couple of instances tonight where 5-on-5 looked like 5-on-4. So, I mean, it's just an interesting. It was an interesting game, from that point on, because you do wonder how the Jets are they going to take their foot off the gas, and it's a little bit natural to expect that. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened in this. If you call that a fair penalty, and like I said, Drew, it's fairly marginal as penalties go, but Nino Niederreiter heads to the box, and again, Patrick Kane still can score, and it's a nice play by the Red Wings. I mean, they take advantage of the Jets being deep and push. And like I said, you get a big shot. I think it was Dylan Larkin who took that big shot, and then Patrick Kane, of course, finishes off that rebound. I didn't really notice him throughout the course of the game, but special teams, that's his bread and butter, especially at this point as he's recovering slowly and getting back into play. I mean, he obviously has taken off a significant point of this season, but
look,
I mean,
all the hype about where was Patrick Kane going to sign is not commensurate with his on-ice impact anymore. Patrick Kane in his prime was one of the best players in the league. He's not that anymore. So really, I mean, again, it was early in the season, and I understand that the talking heads have to fill the airtime with something, but Patrick Kane just doesn't have impact. Look at his numbers last year with the Rangers. By the way, the Rangers were a way better team than the Detroit Red Wings were. He was, he was very ineffective playing for the New York Rangers last year, and I mean, I would argue that he's probably similarly ineffective for the Red Wings this year. So you're getting what you're getting from Patrick Kane at this point of his career, which is not a significant player, at the NHL level. He's got his skill set. He can still have his great vision, but he's not a driver of play anymore.
No, I don't think so at all. And again, like I said, that I think that's consistent with his just lack. He just didn't bear much attention, really. And from what I was watching especially in the first 20 minutes, I mean, again, he's still talented. He can still shoot the puck. It's just, he doesn't take over a game the way he used to take over a game. So that's one of those benefits, that if you can have a guy who can be more of a specialist for your team and an ancillary player, then maybe that's where Patrick Kane can thrive. I mean, right. Detroit is a curious choice for him. I know that there was the hope that DeBrincat and him would rekindle their chemistry, and boy, Laurent Brossoit made a nice save on DeBrincat, because
DeBrincat just missed. Yeah, I mean,
no. I'm not talking about in the third period. I'm talking about.
Oh, you're talking about the one in the first period.
Second period.
Okay, then there was also one.
There was one in the second period where he got across. DeBrincat had what looked like almost like an open net, and Brossoit got across and made a save. So,
and there was a save in the first period off of Dylan Larkin, where the puck came off of the end boards and right back through Brossoit's legs and then onto Larkin's stick, and then Brossoit had the wherewithal to kick out the leg to keep. And that was when the game was still 0-0.
Yeah, and we thought, well, it's funny because I was like, oh, Brendan Dillon, saved the goal. And I actually thought Brendan Dillon should have saved the goal because he made a bad pinch at the blue line, which allowed Detroit to have the numbers and get that opportunity in the first place. So we originally, again, first blush was that Dillon had made the stop, or at least got his stick on it. And I think he may have in part, but you're right, Drew. Brossoit did kick out his toe and make the stop on Larkin. So he made some nice saves. I mean, again, Detroit didn't kill him with, what were the high danger chances in tonight's game?
The high danger chances, I think, were 12-11 in the Jets' favor. Yeah, 12-11 in high danger chances at 5-on-5, and the Jets only played at 5-on-5.
5-on-5, yeah.
Yeah, or they never had any power plays. So, yeah, the high danger chances were pretty even, but that to me still is a little misleading. I don't really remember there being the Jets only having one more high danger chance than the Red Wings, but nonetheless, I thought not the turning point, but where it could have been a 4-3 game, it should have been a 4-3 game, was with Morrissey in the penalty box for hooking, and DeBrincat had really had a wide open net that he just somehow managed to hit the side of the net rather than the mesh. And you saw him hit the side of the net and just look up to the heavens and say, how did I miss that? Because it really should have been about a 4-3 game with about 8 minutes to go still. This is when Morrissey took the penalty in the third period. This one was a legitimate one. It was a hooking penalty. He takes that penalty at the 12:39 mark. So there's 8 minutes and 21 seconds to go when he takes that penalty. So the Red Wings would have been able to cut it to a 1-goal game with still 6-7 minutes on the clock if DeBrincat capitalizes on that opportunity. He misses, and then as so often happens in sports and in the NHL in general, the Jets go back down the length of the ice and they make it 5-2. This coming at the 15-12 mark of the third period with less than 5 minutes to play. It's Mark Scheifele, his 12th of the year, assisted Gabe Vilardi and Nikolai Ehlers. And it's Ehlers to Vilardi, and Vilardi does a nice job in just sort of sending it in low. I thought that maybe they were fumbling the puck a little bit, and there may have been a better opportunity, but they send it in low, and when it's down low, 200 feet away from your own goal, nothing bad is going to happen. And then Vilardi just goes and gets the puck. And Scheifele is just left all alone. So, I mean, in tonight's game, the Red Wings have left Scheifele all alone. They've left Vilardi all alone, and they've left Ehlers all alone. I mean,
good guys to leave alone.
Has nobody done a pre-scout? I mean, I don't think you need a pre-scout, that in-depth video session to really know, hey, don't leave the hottest line in the NHL all alone so each of them can have a tap-in goal with their eyes closed. But the Red Wings managed to pull that off tonight.
Well, Drew, first of all, I mean, you got to start this discussion with the fact that Nikolai Ehlers passed that with it was a soccer pass. He used his skate on the puck to pass it to Vilardi. And that you can see the reaction from Vilardi to Scheifele and Ehlers, because Ehlers is like almost like laughing. He's back. You can see how excited he is that it worked out, but he makes that pass with his foot and he gets it over to Vilardi, and then Vilardi finds Scheifele. And I mean, it's terrible defense by the Wings. They completely overcommit to Ehlers. There's 4 guys on Ehlers and basically nobody on Vilardi and nobody on Scheifele. Well, that doesn't seem ideal. And you can see after the fact, Vilardi's just like laughing and saying to Scheifele, did you see what Ehlers did? He basically passed that with his foot. And so again, you like to see what Gabe Vilardi does. He goes into these tough areas, fights for the puck, and then he backs off, finds a little bit of soft space, and there's a no-doubter. And that's 3 no-doubters in this game. And so, the Jets, when they're going to score that many goals, I mean, they weren't losing this game anyways, most likely at that point when they made it 4-1. But even at 4-2, you didn't feel like the Wings were storming back. Sure, they could have made it a little more interesting at 4-3, Drew, but it really didn't feel like the Jets were rolling on this one, and they buried their opportunities, and that was the key. And they still ended up with they ended up with like over 40 shots in this game, right around there.
Shots on goal ended up 41-28 in the Jets' favor. 12 shots. I mean, the second period they had 18 shots in the second period alone.
Yeah, so I mean, like it's one of those. Again, Detroit's, and you got to remember, like people are like, oh, Detroit's no good, blah blah. Detroit, even though they're not a playoff team, first of all, they're not that far back. I think they're like 3 or 4 points back of a wild card spot, but they're also
lost
plus
4 in a row. I mean, they're
I understand. I understand, Drew, but what I'm saying is they can also score. Like they have 111 goals for. Their goal differentials plus coming into tonight's game was plus 11.
Yeah.
So Detroit could actually score. They let in a lot of goals, and they were going to let in a lot more now with Reimer and Hutchinson as their tandem.
Yeah.
But the reality is they can still score a lot of goals.
They're the fourth. They've scored the 4th most goals in the entire NHL. Yeah.
So again, the Jets held a team once again for the 21st straight game. To 3 or less goals.
Well, it's a recipe for success. I mean, you don't have to be a hockey genius to know that if you're not giving up more than 2 or 3 goals a game, you're oftentimes going to be in a good situation, and that is the situation that the Winnipeg Jets find themselves in, and they find
it's like being on Jersey Shore. The situation, Drew, we've mentioned it so many times.
Well, there you go. If you want to start fist pumping, you can feel free to do that. I'll be fine watching that. 5-2 victory for the Winnipeg Jets, and that's another victory for the team. They're now 7-1-1 in their last 9. They're now atop the Central Division division again, as the Jets and the Stars and the Avalanche keep bouncing back and forth in that epic battle. And my tongue is firmly in cheek when I say that, at game number 30 or 31 of the season. But the Jets are playing some excellent hockey, and they have one more game to go before the Christmas break, and that's going to come on Friday against the Boston Bruins. Another game against the East. The Jets, of course, have been pretty good against the East. The Bruins 19-5-6 entering the game, or entering tonight's play. So you know that Friday night's game in downtown Winnipeg is going to have a little bit of hype about it, a little bit more energy about it, similar to the games the Jets played against Colorado and the Jets played against the Kings. Most recently, the one against Boston. That's the proverbial. I don't think the Jets necessarily need measuring stick games anymore, because I think they've proven to be a pretty damn good hockey team. But nonetheless, anytime the Boston Bruins come to town, it should be a very entertaining contest on Friday night. Post-game show on Friday, 9:45 Central, 10:45 here in the Eastern time zone.
Yeah, and again, Boston just played Minnesota and lost in overtime. I mean, it was a really entertaining game. Boston came back and tied it late in the game, and then the Wild won it in overtime. But again, Drew, we talked about it. While the Jets have continued to kind of alternate between Dallas and Winnipeg and Colorado in that first, second, and third spot, those teams that are behind them, Nashville, Arizona, and Minnesota, even Minnesota's farther back, but Nashville and Arizona aren't that far back. And Arizona quietly has won now 3 straight games after going on that bit of a losing streak, have won 3 straight games. So they're climbing. But Nashville's the team again that has been very solid. And again, I don't think they're going to challenge Winnipeg, Colorado, or Dallas, but it's not like they've created a huge gap. They've given themselves a lot of cover. They've banked standing points. And again, like you said, this has been such a good, after having such a good November. Yeah. They've now turned that into an amazing December, right? They're, what are they? 7-1-1 in December, I think, right? I know you said that. I think that's
7-1 in their last 9. If they played 9 games in December,
I think this was the 9th game in December, because I'm pretty sure they were 7. I think so. I'm not 100% certain, but I think that their December record has been very good. So
yeah, well, they just don't lose that many games in a row. And I mean, you remember when they lost those couple games in a row, and that was probably a few weeks ago now, and everyone thought that the sky might be falling. Well, how have they bounced back from that? Well, they bounced back from that with an excellent performance. This was game number 1, 2, 3. This was game number 9 of the month.
So they're 7-1-1.
Yeah. 7-1-1 and
one regulation loss in 9 games. I mean,
and of course it came against the San Jose Sharks.
Sure. But like I said, I think someone else subsequently lost to the Sharks or whatever. And it doesn't matter, because like I said, the Jets just didn't play. They didn't play a terrible game against San Jose. No. They just weren't able to kind of impose their will the way they had a terrible, the one thing I will say, they had a terrible start against San Jose, of course, being outshot 12-1 to start that hockey game. But what is the Sharks lunch? I mean, look, the focus is the fact is that this is a team that has been very good for a while. And I know that, again, like I said, I know folks are expecting the wheels to fall off, but you judge a team based on their 5-on-5 play. The goaltending's been excellent. The 5-on-5 play has been excellent. Special teams, again, not great, and that's going to require some work. But we'll see, and we had Rick Bonus's focus was on, for the PK specifically, about shot blocks and getting the puck out when they have the opportunity. Although it was interesting because we had a loyal Twitter follower tweet at us and say that the numbers for the shot blocks are actually very similar to what they were last year. So maybe it's more of those situational opportunities where the Jets could dump a puck out.
I would bet, though, that last year they would have had more opportunity to block the shot, because this year's team is a far better possession team than last year's team was.
Maybe.
This year's team would have the puck on their stick a lot more.
Yeah, possibly. But again, the idea being, though, that when they had the puck on their stick, Rick Bonus mentioned it today, like there was, I think today or yesterday, talked about when there was a puck on the PK against Colorado where they had an opportunity to clear it. They didn't. And as a result, it ends up in the back of their net. So, I mean, there's areas to clean up. They're like any team, but, and I don't know who said it, some folks in the chat. I know Josh who, by the way, we owe him a belated birthday wish because that was last week. Sorry, Josh. Josh Mertens is his last name, I believe.
Yeah,
I hope I'm pronouncing it right. And Josh is he's a Jets fan who's based out of Michigan, and I believe he was watching the
Red Wings feed tonight.
The Red Wings feed.
So was
Ken
I.
Daniels.
Yeah.
Right, well, of course, yeah.
Ken Daniels and Larry Murphy.
Yeah, Larry. Well, and that was kind of the joke that Chris Osgood and what? Oh God, why am I blanking?
I don't know the name of the studio host.
Mickey Redmond were begged off of the trip to Winnipeg, but Ken Daniels is amazing. He's a great broadcaster, and Larry Murphy does a really good job too. So Detroit's got I watched it for many years. They've got a really good broadcast team covering the Red Wings, and yeah, I mean, apparently the point I'm making is that the commentary was that the Jets were kind of almost like a measuring stick type of team now, and again, this is you don't have that level of success. Like you can lose a game, but when you're not giving up 3, 4, 5 goals in a game, it's pretty significant. So that's what you want to see as a Jets fan, I would imagine, is that your team is consistent. And that's what this team has been more often than not.
There you go. Jets win 5-2 tonight against the Detroit Red Wings. When we come back on the Illegal Curve post-game show, we'll do the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment. We'll give you some relevant comments coming from the Winnipeg Jets dressing room. Talk a little bit more about Friday against the Boston Bruins. Much more to come. Don't go anywhere. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk with you. It's Wednesday night. The Jets are victorious 5-2. This is the Illegal Curve post-game show.
Your coworkers love you because you always make them laugh. You're the life of the party with stories that have them rolling on the floor. Or maybe you're just the quiet one in the corner with the one-liners that just slay. Do you have what it takes to become Winnipeg's funniest person with a day job? Try your luck. Hit the stage at Rumors Comedy Club, and you could be walking away with $1,000 cash. Winnipeg's funniest person with a day job. Presented by Rumors. For all the details, head to rumorscomedyclub.com.
So you're a pizza person, you married a wing person, but somehow your kids are salad people. You can't pick your fam, but you can pick your BP meal deal, starting from $18.99 for takeout or delivery at bostonpizza.com.
The game can change just like that. Accidents happen when you aren't protected. So now what? Getting to your injury quickly can make all the difference. Help prevent them from being game changers with Linden Market Dental Center. Bonding, crowns, bridges, and dental implants. State-of-the-art treatments are available to help you get back in the game. To learn more, visit LindenMarketDentalCenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rollies Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Boston Pizza harnessed Fanalytics to test if the game is better at home or at Boston Pizza. The results are irrefutable. Catch the game at Boston Pizza, powered by Fanalytics.
For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the Illegal Curve hockey show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com. 20 minutes after the top of the hour. Welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk with you on this Wednesday night, talking about the Jets' victory at home, against the Detroit Red Wings. 5-2, the Jets victorious night. Dave M., you got the finger point. Tell me what's on your mind.
That was very radio of a voice of you there,
Thank
Drew.
you.
But
Thank you.
I was going to say, the only thing quick, I wanted to tie it into the commercials. I'm not quite ready to make an exciting announcement yet, but hopefully very early in 2024, you will be seeing one of your favorite commercials.
Have we lost Ginsburg?
No, that's not. What do you mean? Have we lost Greensburg? Is that the commercial?
That's the commercial.
I know, but I didn't want to reveal too much, Drew. You're revealing too much. But the point is that, anyways, it will be something along those lines. And so the commercial will be back in 2024. We haven't recorded it yet, but it will be back when we're all back together early in 2024.
There you go. So stay tuned. So much happening. We got clocks chiming. We got commercials being teased. Who knows what else is going to happen here on the Illegal Curve post-game show?
Who knows, Drew? Maybe we'll still keep going for another, what is it?
It would be another 39 minutes. And like I said, I've been up since 4:30 in the morning, so you can go all you want, but I'll be going to bed before that happens, just for my own sanity and everything else. But
fair enough.
I appreciate that. Yes, the clock will be here on Friday. Don't worry, the clock will be back on Friday at the very least. This courtesy of our buddy Mike McIntyre. He asked Nikolai Ehlers about the recent play of that line, of the Ehlers, Scheifele, Velarde line. Here's what Ehlers had to say, quote, "I feel like I've played like shit, excuse my language, the last two games, in the first period today and parts of the third period today. He had a goal and an assist tonight, but he's hard on himself. He felt like he's been playing poorly." And I don't disagree necessarily. I didn't think he's had his best games as of late.
No, I don't either.
It continues on. Obviously, we're scoring goals, but we also want to be better. I want to be better. But those two guys are pretty fun to play with. They read the game really well. So that's Nikolai Ehlers talking about his own performance and that of his line mates. The numbers of that line are just incredible. In the last 4 games, so that's not a big sample size. Last 4 games, Gabe Velarde, 5 goals, 5 assists. That's 10 points. Nikolai Ehlers, 4 goals, 5 assists. That's 9 points. Mark Scheifele, 3 goals, 3 assists, 6 points. And absolutely none of that is on the power play. So that's all 5-on-5 production. We know how good they've been playing as of late, and that is just exemplified through some of those raw numbers as of late. But yet, Nikolai Ehlers wants more from himself and expects more from himself, which has got to be music to the ears of the Winnipeg Jets coaching staff and, of course, the fans of the Winnipeg Jets as well, Dave.
For sure. I mean, complacency is never an acceptable emotion. You don't want that to seep in. You want guys to want more. And look, we said it. Watching Nikolai Ehlers against the Montreal Canadiens, I didn't think he had his best game. And I didn't think he was bad tonight. I thought he made a number of nice plays. I mean, there were
a couple drop passes to nobody that tend to be part of his routine.
For sure. Yeah, and look, there's always going to be things that you can work on to better yourself. I mean, we in this realm, Drew, think that there's things that you and I could work on. Maybe not Ezzy because he's perfect, but you and I always think, there are things that we could tweak here, there, and everywhere to make ourselves better. And similarly, you want to be part of a group where guys like that are always, despite his success, he knows that there can be more. He knows that he can be better, and he knows that line can be better. And that line, again, right now is vying to be a top line in the NHL. And we haven't obviously done the exercise of going around the NHL and comparing and contrasting. Could be a fun thing for a Saturday show, Drew. But for right now, that line has looked fantastic. And the Jets, as a collective whole, have looked fantastic. Are there areas they need to work on? Yes, we've outlined them. Special teams, for sure. You can't have, the 24th ranked power play or the 27th ranked PK. Those are areas that you need to get into at least the top 15. You want to be somewhere in that realm. It's hard when you've built up a lot of, you're already 31 games into the season. So it's hard to overcome a poor start in both those realms, but get them back at least into the top 15 to 20. And if you can do that with your 5-on-5 play, because we know in the playoffs, right, the 5-on-5 play is what's going to be key for this club. So you want guys to be hungry to be better and to improve. And that's why you see it. And you see these guys and they're getting along and they're laughing. And, you saw it, our guy, Colby Spence, who takes amazing photos. He was at practice. You can see the way that these guys are enjoying being on the ice together. And sure, it's always easier to be happy when you're winning. But right now, that's what the Jets are experiencing. And the good news for Winnipeg and for Winnipeg fans was that attitude. Obviously, they weren't happy when they were losing, but that there wasn't like a blame. It was that collectively this team knew that they needed to be better. And we're seeing it top to bottom, the first line, the second line, third line. Third line has been quiet for the last little bit. It's gone a little bit maybe stale, if you will. But I think the benefit right now is that the fourth line has stepped up.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
And so and Cole Perfetti, who had been a little bit quiet, he himself has been a little bit more noticeable in the last couple of games. So, I mean, I think that's, and again, at the end of the day, you have the goaltending that you can always fall back on if any of those things aren't working. But right now, those are all working for the most part. And the goaltending's been fantastic.
Exactly. A good position for the Winnipeg Jets to be in. Let's wrap up tonight's post-game show with the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment.
Lots of
The Tough Duck hardest hitting comment.
Sorry, I cut you off there. What were you going to say?
No, I just said lots of good ones. I just did a little add-on. I mean, you were. I saw you buzzing, Drew. You're starring comments here, there, and everywhere, and I think with good reason. A lot of folks had some good comments.
Well, look, over 400 of you were joining us at various points of time during this post-game show. So when there's that many people here, the odds are going to be pretty good. There's going to be at least a couple good comments. And of course, you all brought some great energy to the post-game show like you always do. And we appreciate you all joining us as we do after each and every Winnipeg Jets game. And we'll do again on Friday. So at about 9:30, 9:45 Central Time on Friday after the Jets and the Boston Bruins do battle. We'll do the Illegal Curve post-game show. Just want to make a quick programming note before we get to the hardest hitting comment. There won't be a Saturday show this week. We're going to take this Saturday off for the right around the holiday season. We usually around Christmas, we usually take this Saturday off. So we're going to take this Saturday off. So Saturday morning, go spend your time with however else you want to do it. Maybe
the website's still running.
The website will still be there, of course, all your Jets news and everything, but it just won't be a Saturday show this Saturday. So just factor that into your plans on this coming weekend.
Maybe I'll record a Moose. Maybe I'll record like a Moose interview or something like that.
Sure, record a Moose interview and throw it up there or something. That sounds like a great.
Maybe make it go live at like 9, so folks will have something to do. I don't want Spacey to be bored on Saturday morning, Drew.
Who's he going to make pancakes for if he's not making them for us? That's that's a big decision, a tough decision.
I think Matthew Thompson's hitting it on the head.
Manuk Moose morning. I'll tell you what, you can take the lead on that one, Mr. Manuk. That I won't not have a problem.
Look at 10 Golden Rules is saying, Drew, and the Legal Curve Greatest Hits podcast.
If we didn't have to put that together, then I think that's a great idea. So if somebody else wants to, all the shows are archived on the website.
Though? Would it be like art? Would it be interviews or would it be?
I think just be escapades, just 2 hours of escapades. I have like a full full database of Ezzy's ridiculous stories, which were way more entertaining before he had children. You can just record those and air those, and people will be like, why am I listening to this? And then at the same time, then 2 minutes later, they'll be, well, I can't stop listening to this because these are the greatest stories I've ever heard from an allegedly adult human being. So whatever. Sure. It's all on illegalcurve.com. So if you're still looking for something to do on Saturday morning, all of our archives going back for the last decade or so are on the website.
Decade. It's a decade and a half.
15 years almost.
We're approaching 15 years there, Tito.
I know, it's hard to believe. In any event, Tough Duck hardest hitting comment tonight, I'm going to give it to Patrick Guazd. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I hope I am. With the way Laurent Brossoit is playing right now, we haven't really even talked about that on tonight's post-game show. The Jets could be set up well in net down the stretch with a fresh Connor Hellebuyck. And you're absolutely right, Patrick. Laurent Brossoit, after some early season struggles, has definitely found his game. Another game where he's only given up 2 goals because the Jets themselves don't often give up very many goals. You pronounced it right. It's Patrick. Thank you, Frosty. That's very clever. But Laurent Brossoit playing very well for the Winnipeg Jets, and as a result, they're confident in putting him in the net as need be throughout the course of the season. So Patrick, send me an email, drew@illegalcurve.com. You can slide into my DMs on X, on social media @ICDrew, and we'll hook you up with a Tough Duck toque, courtesy of our friends at Tough Duck. Just send me your mailing address when you do that. And of course, stay tuned on Friday, another opportunity for somebody to have the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment. Dave M, any last thoughts from you tonight before we wrap up this post-game show? We're almost at the hour 15 mark.
Yeah. No, we're good. I mean, we've got the Moose were in action. I think we done one since the Moose played?
They played this morning, didn't they? Wasn't that, or was that yesterday?
What's today?
Did they play in the Chicago game?
Today's Wednesday. No, they played yesterday morning,
yesterday.
Drew, which you know what that means.
Oh boy.
I mean,
hang on, let me find the button.
Put on your antlers. It's time for the Minuk Moose Minute on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
I'm just here to give the people what they want.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
people
not
want the moose.
the people want the Minuk Moose Minute. No, I mean, I will be candid. It was the school day game, the 11 o'clock game in Chicago, taking on their arch rivals, the Wolves. 14,000 in attendance. Kids were happy to be skipping school to be at Allstate Arena in Chicago to watch the game. I was only able to really pay attention to that first period because, of course, I had Jets responsibilities. So I was watching the Moose first period, riveted to the TV, listening to Daniel Fink on the call. But then as the second period began, I had to go down to Canada Life and cover the Jets to make sure that illegalcurve.com, because the Jets are what drive the vehicle. The Moose are important, but the Jets are really what power this along. So got to make sure that we have all of our Jets coverage in addition to the Moose as best we can. So I did my best to try and pay attention to everything that was happening. The Moose got off to a phenomenal start, though, Drew, in case you're wondering, and I know you were.
I think they're up
Wyatt
2-0. Am I right? Were they up 2-0?
They were up 2-0. Wyatt Bongiovanni, he has been hot. He, of course, started the season with a groin issue, but he's been really good for the Moose. Scored a bit of a long-range one. Nikita Chibrikov, the Jets draft pick, he doesn't get an assist on this, but he was creating a little bit of a ruckus in the front of the net. Antti Ranta, interestingly enough, playing his first game in the AHL after clearing waivers from Carolina. That was his first game in about, I think, 4 or 5 years. I think his last game was 2019-20. So he was playing, and the Moose got the early lead courtesy of Wyatt Bongiovanni's 8th goal of the year. Dmitry Kuzmin, he picks up, actually, it's interesting. For whatever reason on the site, they're saying it was his second assist, but he had a multi-point game the last Moose game at home. So not certain why that was the case, but the 2021 third rounder, he looked really good with Tyrell Bauer. And then Danny Zhilkin also picked up an assist. And then about a minute and 20 later, Drew, Nicholas Jones, hard worker, follows a Daniel Torgerson shot into the zone and puts it behind Antti Ranta, who doesn't pick up the rebound, the good rebound off the backboard. 2-0 for the Moose. And you're thinking, oh, the Moose are in cruise control. But then things start to fall off. The Wolves tied it up about 3:23 into the second period. And then Parker Ford, he's heating up a little bit as he starts to get more and more comfortable at the pro level. And he scores his 5th goal, assist to Jeff Malott and Chaz Lucius, the 2021 first rounder, who's been looking more solid after missing a couple of games. And so you're thinking, okay, the Moose are back on top, 3-2. But it was not to be. 3-3 before the end of the second. And I'll be quite frank, that's when I stopped having to be completely focused on the Moose. And I'm not going to say it's my fault or not, but Drew, when I stopped paying attention,
I'll say it's your fault.
When I stopped paying attention, the wheels fell off. But I will mention, because I think I saw T. Konapoli in the chat, at least I'm pretty sure he was. Tyrell Bauer had a ridiculous. Well, T. Kona was messaging me after. Oh, there he is. T. Kona was messaging me, I think, through our Instagram. But it was a giant no defense fight with Tyrell Bauer, and he maybe didn't start off. He didn't start off very quick, but he started chucking, and the kid is tough as nails. Good kid, really good kid, and he's a right shot defenseman. And I know some people think that fighting doesn't have a place in the game anymore, but this kid is tough, and again, he's learning how to defend, and he's learning the pro game only in his second year as a pro. So there's a lot of room for him to grow, but kid's tough as nails. And he had a monster fight that ended his second period. And the Moose, like I said, didn't have a great third. And before you knew it, it was 6-3 final for the Chicago Wolves. So the Moose left Chicago a little disappointed, hoping to build on the success of the conclusion of their little short 2-game homestand. But instead they'll go to Iowa and hope to make some hay against their Central Division rivals.
Well, there you go. That's the Minuk Moose Minute, as only Dave Minuk can do and only does here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. When are the Moose next in action? Do we get one of these on Friday as well?
Friday.
Okay, so we'll have. So yes,
Well, you might be doing
It might coincide. I might. What?
I'm trying. I think the game's a 7:00 game in Iowa, but I would have to check.
Okay, so you're going to be you'll do a split screen or something. You'll keep an eye on
Sure.
both undoubtedly, and we'll talk about it on Friday's version of the Illegal Curve post game show after the Jets and the Boston Bruins. Want to say a big thank you to all of our sponsors for their support. They make this Saturday show, the post game show, the website a possibility. That's our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Linden Market Dental Center, Zappia Group Realty, Betway. They're the title sponsor of this post game show. Tough Duck, Boston Pizza, Seagram's, Rolly's Transfer, and of course Farmery Beer, home of Illegal Curve Lager. Get that at number 2 Donald Street. Support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. Big thanks to all of you for joining us tonight. The Jets win 5-2 over the Detroit Red Wings. If you haven't already done so, smash the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel. LegalCurve.com is going to be your destination for all the latest Winnipeg Jets, Manitoba Moose news and audio. That'll be updated with all the post-game commentary. That'll be updated soon.
Already updated, Drew.
There you go, already updated. And then again, of course, tomorrow with all your latest Winnipeg Jets news, starting bright and early with the Winnipeg Jets morning papers. Dave and I will next be in action on Friday night. I think Ginsburg's joining us then, but I honestly am not entirely sure. We'll be back. Dave and I at least will be back on Friday. That'll be after the Jets and the Bruins. So 9:45 Central Time, 10:45 Eastern for those of
Actually, give me you and Ginsburg for the record, but okay.
There, it's just me and Ezzy?
Yeah, it's just you and Ez.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. I'll be here. So fingers crossed Ezzy's going to be here. Otherwise, it'll be a Mindell solo show. And you know those are entertaining and worth the price of admission. Somebody will be here on Friday to talk about the Jets and the Boston Bruins. We hope you'll be back to join us as well. Thanks, everyone, for joining us on this Wednesday night. Jets win 5-2. Until Friday night, for Dave Manouk, I'm your host, Drew Mindell. We wish you good night and good luck. And thanks for watching the Illegal Curve post-game show.
Thanks for listening to this broadcast from Illegal Curve Hockey. For more great Illegal Curve content, subscribe to the Illegal Curve YouTube channel, follow at Illegal Curve on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and visit your online home for hockey in Winnipeg, illegalcurve.com.